एकमक्षरम् हृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयं लिप्यते कथम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् अहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता चेता अवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो देहो जडात्मकम् अहम् उद्येन तस्यास्ति नाहं तत्तत भावशुद्धिसमये सिद्धात्मसत्त्वा को भान्त कुतो रधिया दृष्टा मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं. Namo Ramana. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we have been meditating on the verses of Vivekachoodamani by Bhagavad Father Adi Shankara. We are going to cover verses 6 to 33 in the original today. Roughly about 20 verses if we can cover in a satsang, that would be nice. We are entering the body of the text. There are about 10 to 11 points we have to cover today, mainly regarding two areas. Mainly regarding the qualifications of the disciple and a little bit, two verses, 32 and 33 from the original, on the nature of the Guru. A little bit into the nature of the Guru, but mainly about the qualifications of the disciple, and including in this qualifications and end of qualifications is the famous verse 31, where this Swaswarupa Anusandhanam Bhaktiritya Bhidiyate, that part of the verse is going to be covered as the end of the qualifications, as what is the right path to self-realization. The Acharya is going to call it as Bhakti, and what is Bhakti is going to define. So at the heart of what we are going to see today It's not only the qualifications of the disciple, the qualifications of the guru, but what essentially is the path that is being pointed out by the acharya for the sadhaka. So let us get into the qualifications of the disciple. The acharya is of the strong opinion that the intellectual ability of the ability to have viveka should be very strong, and the sadhaka should be able to discriminate between the essential and the inessential, as well as follow or have or develop the qualifications mentioned in the scriptures. What are the qualifications mentioned in the scripture? Let us see, but let us briefly look at the basic three: a strong intellect, an ability to discriminate between the real and the unreal, or the essential and the inessential, as well as the qualities that are enumerated in the scriptures. What are these qualifications? Let us see in detail. There are going to be three: a brief description and a detailed description contained in the verses. All about what? All about the qualifications of a disciple. Let's briefly go into what qualifications of a disciple does the who am I scripture of Bhagavan require. The only requirement is that you should be seeking happiness, and that you should be able to see thought and let them go and hold the eye. These are the only two qualifications you can see in the practice of who am I of Bhagavan. What are the two qualifications? All living beings seek to be happy always. So do you recognize that you are not seeking this or that you are seeking only happiness? And the path shown by Bhagavan in who am I to rediscover our essential nature, which is happiness, is to inquire into our true nature by discovering we are not the body, we are not the mind, by letting go of the anatma and holding the atma. So the essential qualifications seem to be: can you observe a thought arising in you? If you can observe a single thought arising in you, that is enough. But why do the scriptures present with us some additional qualifications, very detailed qualifications? As you practice Atma Vicharam, you will see why the scriptures have prescribed these qualifications. You will appreciate, as sadhakas in Bhagavan's path, we will appreciate as to why the scriptures have prescribed these qualifications for the disciple. So, the practice of Atma Vicharam directly, which this particular group has as part of its sadhana, that itself will make you sensitive. Obviously, in Atma Vicharam, you cannot have other qualifications as superimpositions, because they are all anatma. Whether very nice or not, they are all anatma. So in the process of letting the thought go and holding the eye, you will realize the gradation of the sadhana is the understanding that you get in Atma Vicharam. So we are going to look at both the scriptural requirement and how you will get to know the efficacy of those requirements through the practice of Atma Vicharam. What are the qualifications that are there in the scriptures? There are essentially four qualifications which we should remember. Number one is ability to discriminate between real and unreal. He must have an unattached mind. That is second qualification. He must ardently desire liberation, and he must be tireless in practice. Only such a one is qualified to inquire into the Brahman. What is the brief look at the qualifications prescribed in the scriptures? Again, the ability to discriminate between the real and the unreal. He must have unattached mind. That means the ihapara phala seeking, that is not there. and he must desire ardently for liberation. What is that ardent seeking of liberation? We will see in detail. And he must be tireless in practice. Only such a one is qualified to inquire into the Brahman. Now, let us see the qualifications in detail. What do we mean by discrimination between the real and the unreal? What do we mean by the disinclination to enjoy the fruits of one's actions, the detachment, either in this or any further life? What do we mean by the practice of sama, adi, shad, shakti, or the 6 qualities that are prescribed for the sadhaka to turn inward? What are the 6 qualities that are prescribed? That is the third one. The fourth one is the aspirant must indeed be firmly seeking liberation. What are the 6 qualities? Shad Sampatti, the Samadhi, Shad Sampatti is Sama Adi, Samadhama and all that. What is Sama? Sama is the tranquility or calmness. Dhamma is self-control. Uparati is withdrawal. Uparati is the withdrawal. Okay. Titiksha is the forbearance. Shraddha is the faith. And Samadhana is the concentration on the self. So, what are the Sama Adi Shat Sampatti that we should have as qualities? One is Sama, which is tranquility. Dhamma is the self-control. Uparati is withdrawal. Titiksha is forbearance. Shraddha is faith. And Samadhana is concentration on the self. Now, what are these qualifications in detail? Discrimination between real and unreal. What does that mean? Discrimination between real and unreal is the first qualification. That means a firm conviction that Brahman is Satyam and Jagat is Mithya. A firm conviction that Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya is the discrimination between real and unreal. Let us recall Bhagavan's teachings on this. That in the commentary to the first verse on Mullad Narpade, we find Lakshman Sharma draw on the teachings of Bhagavan, where he says it is the experience of everyone to see a seer and the seen. The experience of everyone is that there is a seer and the seen, and everyone takes both to be real, both the seer and the seen to be real. What is the seer and the seen? The seer and the seen are part of the Jagat. Both seer and the seen are part of something called as world. But the seer will never see like that, will never see the integrated picture unless pointed out by the Guru that your body is part and parcel of the world, your entityship is part and parcel of the Jagat. And what is the requirement? The discrimination between real and unreal is that both the seer and the seen are false. Both the seer and the seen together are unreal. Only the underlying Brahman is real. And how does Bhagavan arrive at it or point out at it very clearly is that everybody has this experience of seer and seen and take them to be real. However, if they are real, they should be present in all the 3 states. However, the seer and seen relationship or the individual and the world is found only in the waking and dream. It is not present in deep sleep. Then he brings the beautiful contribution that what is common between waking and dream? It is the arising of the mind. That means the falsity or the mithya arises with the rising of the mind and subsides with the setting of the mind in deep sleep. That means treat both waking and dream as dream, which is arising on the rising of the mind. Therefore, the whole of the waking and dream states, the seer seen relationships in that, in whatever world you may call it, those world or Jagat is Mithya, and the underlying Brahman, the source from which the mind arises and the source into which the mind sets, that alone is real, says Bhagavan. That means Bhagavan's one paragraph covers the whole inquiry into the Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya, actually taking us practically to what is the Satyam, what is the reality. The reality is, and why he prescribes the practice of seeking the source of the mind is to take it away from the real, away from the unreal, and fix it in the real. So the sadhana fixed in self-inquiry becomes clear by understanding this viveka, that the first viveka that Acharya wants us to have is the discrimination between real and unreal. What does that discrimination mean? That discrimination means to understand is that Jagat is Mithya and Brahman is Satyam. And Bhagavan's paragraph, if you can remember that, then this first discriminatory ability itself takes us to the practice of self-inquiry and abidance in the self. That all the seer-seen relationships in the waking and dream, they arise only after the rising of the mind. They fall away in deep sleep where the mind does not arise. Therefore, the reality of all the seer-seen relationships in the mind is only to be found in the source from where the mind arises and the source into which the mind sets, which is the inquiry of who am I, which takes us to the source of the whole of the waking and dream and deep sleep states. So that is the first quality in detail. First quality, first qualification, discrimination between real and unreal in detail. The second qualification is that we should not have the interest to experience the results of our actions either in this world or in any other world. For that, there should be a detachment from the phalam, complete detachment from the phalam. What is required for that? We should have an inquiry into the transient nature of the experiences that are received by us in this world, as well as what could be received in any other world. A constant inquiry into that is required so that we don't do sadhana for iha para phala. See, when we combine bhakti marga and vichara, we will understand how our sadhana moves from praying for something to a constant prayer for peace of mind. As a bhakta, we will be praying for one item after another. Let my this part of my life become all right. There is an article by Kameshwar Rao from Andhra Pradesh. In those days, he writes an article how he was moved by Bhagavan from praying for really difficult situations. His son is about to die, and a close relative is about to pass away, and he has to cancel a trip to attend the Mahakumbhabhishekam of Amma's shrine, Matrubhudeshwara shrine. The taxi is there, but the intuition says, send away the taxi. Don't come for the function. And he obeys the inner command of the Guru and slowly moves from individual sanctioning of things. Give me this, give me that. In the instruction of another great teacher or saint, he listens and says, the one prayer which underlies all prayers is to seek a quietness of mind, the calmness of mind. When you seek calmness of mind, then you are simultaneously asking for all prayers to be answered. If you ask one prayer after another, then that is going to be endless. Just like Bhagavan says to Kapali Shastri, that he prays that one doubt be clarified, that another doubt be clarified. It is nothing different from the prayers of one involved in samsara. The intellectual doubt for the vichari is the same as some other doubt, some other requirement for the samsari. So from one prayer after another, one doubt after another, Bhagavan says you will get one more doubt. Instead of that, inquire who is the doubter. Go for quietness of mind. So the movement away from seeking the sanction of one after another, we seek that let my family get this, let my family get that. Then we inquire what is the tenure of this phala. It is not even 2 days. Then the next requirement for the family comes. The next requirement for the family comes. What was this? We ourselves feel, what is this I am praying every day for? This or that to God. So from that, when we inquire into the transient nature of the phala anubhava, that okay, it may appear very important from this particular angle, but then we have to inquire how shashvata is that phala? That prayer and its sanction, is it going to make me not get disturbed again? And Kapali Shastri and people like us in intellect should ask, if I clarify and get one doubt, will that end my journey? No, Bhagavan says another doubt will come, another doubt will come. So come to a prayer that solves the underlying problem, that the mind getting disturbed, chittam siridase samsara. If the mind moves, you are in the prayer mode, one after another. Therefore, have the underlying prayer that please give me peace of mind. Whatever may be the events that are happening, please give me peace of mind. That is the requirement in the second quality, that one is having detachment or one is not seeking the phala either in this janma or in any other janma. Suppose you seek phala, you will be on individual prayer mode, which will keep on going as one sanction after another, because phalam ashashvatam. So that is the second point that the sadhaka should clarify and have, that I should inquire into the nature of the phala as it is ashashvatam. What is that phala which is shashvatam? Not to ask for discrete phala. Give me money, solve this situation, solve that situation. Instead of that, ask for the quietude of mind. Let me have a quiet mind. For that, the entire range of phalas are inquired into. The Ashashvata nature is inquired into, and one starts doing self-enquiry or meditation in earnest. You can see that. Otherwise, you will be constantly disturbed from the seeking of the self-realization. So that is the second quality. The third is Sama Adi Shad Sampatti. What is this Sama Adi Shad Sampatti? We have to go in detail according to the verses. What is Sama? Sama is fixing the mind upon its targets, meditating frequently on the imperfection of things, becoming dissatisfied with them. So the Phala Apeksha has been left in the second major point, which is the Ihapara Phala Apeksha Tyaga. We will find that Tyaga is a common strand right through this sadhana. The whole spiritual practices, qualifications required will have one quality, that of Tyaga. There is a talk in Talks with Ramana Maharshi, we were reading that today, where a child comes and it is having a sweet in hand, and its parents are asking, why don't you hand it over to Bhagwan? And it happily comes running and gives it take like that to Bhagwan. And Bhagwan says, when something is happily given away, then there is great happiness for the giver as well as for the receiver. Here, the receiver is Jeja, the God. You are only offering whatever you are offering. You may think you are offering all the individual things you are holding on, all those phalas. If you happily give them away, stop asking for discrete things and ask for quietude of mind alone. To whom are you giving it away? You are giving it away to God. So both you and God will be pleased by this, is what Bhagavan is saying. And this Tyaga is going to run through the whole of the requirements. So what are the Sama, Dhamma and the other Shat Sampatti? based on Palatyaga already there in second. The Sama is, now that you are not interested in the Phala, the very objects you are dealing with, the very objects of the world, you are not dealing with the world for any Phala. Because that Palatyaga is there, you are only seeking quietude of mind. Now, you and the objects of the world are there. In the objects of the world also, can it give happiness? Because what was the qualification Bhagavan has asked for? That you cross-check whether you are seeking happiness alone. So what is Sama? Sama is to understand the 24th question and answer of Bhagavan in the booklet, Who Am I? In the booklet, Who Am I? In 24th question is, what is happiness? And that will connect you to the preamble of the work, because in the preamble, Bhagavan says, all living beings seek to be happy. And 24th question is, what is happiness? Happiness is the nature of the self, Bhagavan says, and we wrongly perceive that we get happiness from the objects of the world. I have shared this story, I think, more than 100 times, but in the area of spirituality, these stories have to be repeated. The re-entry of these stories only reinforces our inner journey. The discrete events that are happening, they are not important. But what is the essence of the story, if you can gather and take it as an inner experience, that would be valuable. What is the story I am referring to? Is that for years, decades and decades, I used to have this practice of jumping with joy in front of the TV and being terribly depressed in front of the TV when Indian cricket team is batting or bowling, playing cricket. That when it is playing cricket, when India is doing well, there will be jumping exuberance. And when something happens, there won't be a more tragic phase than mine. And my father used to be part of the team of this exuberance and depression scenario. That went on for decades. India will be playing somewhere in New Zealand. The commentary will be coming in waves in those days in the 70s. And we will be standing in that room early in the morning and listening to that commentary, thinking that the one team winning and one team losing is the source of happiness for us. But what does Bhagavan say? That the happiness is the nature of the self and is not there in the objects. It's not there in the cricket match. In 2003, I was introduced to this practice of detachment. The meditation, that is a practice of detachment. It is a very simple practice. What Hinduism practice calls as be detached, which is be detached from the not only phala but the objects of the world itself, because objects of the world are not real source of happiness. What is it to be detached? The world detached. What the Buddhist meditation has done, to be detached, you should not approach the objects with like and dislike. If you either like it or dislike it, you are attached. So as the cricket match was approached by me with great like and dislike, I was jumping with joy and I was terribly depressed. Whereas my mother, who used to be in kitchen, she would be completely unaffected by those objective events happening. Is there real joy in those happenings? 2003, I was introduced on that day in March. I was introduced to this practice of this, what you call as sama. That is, can I observe the happenings in the sensory world objects, without like and dislike? That was the sadhana asked of me at 2:30 in the afternoon. And the match was in South Africa. India was playing Pakistan. Again, Saeed was scoring century. I came home. Though my eyes were on the TV screen, my attention was on my like and dislike. Immediately, all the exuberance and all the depression started fading away. Now, what kind of that impact that had, that the objects of the world are really not the source of happiness or joy. However terrible the event may appear to be, or however joyous the event may appear to be, really in that event, as Arjuna is told by Sri Krishna, your sword can only kill the body, the bodily form. It cannot touch the emotions. It cannot touch the thoughts. It cannot touch the self. Those are all too subtle for your sword to disturb. it will appear as though your sword has passed through those inner koshas. Couldn't have done. You might have killed only the Annamaya kosha. All those will remain, and you can do nothing about it. Even this you are doing according to my command. So why do you have attachment towards this? Is you do your work without attachment. Do it with detachment is the Upadesham. So what is it to be detached? To observe that the objects of the world are not the source of happiness or source of sorrow. How you can do that? If you can look at them without like, and immediately you will come to understand that they are not a source of joy or sorrow. That is what is required in Sama. What is Dhamma? Dhamma is self-control. Self-control is the outer and inner sense organs. What do you mean by outer and inner sense organs and the sense organ seat? You can say that the outer eye is there, but there is an inner system. And the very seat is the seat. You have the Ayatanava, Ayatanam. Ayatanam is the seat. If you see that the water is the seat of fire and the fire is the seat of water, and that you are the seat of both water and fire, then you will come to self-realization. Says that mantra pushpam. The mantra pushpam again and again takes the Panchabhutas, takes the Surya, takes the Nakshatra, and says that keeps the water constant, and say that the Panchabhutas are the basis of water, and the water you can say either way. This is the ayatanam for that, that is the ayatanam for this, but you are the ayatanavan for both. Who is the ayatanavan? Who, without whom both cannot arise? If you can find out who that ayatanavan is, then the realization is there. That is how the mantra pushpam, which is chanted at the end of every puja, that goes, the ayatanam. So here in Dhamma, the self-control means don't allow the senses to go, because do the objects have happiness in themselves? Do the senses have happiness in themselves? Obviously not. Because that senses themselves are the anatman. And what is Bhagavan's answer to what is happiness? Happiness is the nature of the self. How can a non-self, the sense perception, how can it have happiness? So to turn the very senses, first, get rid of the icha for results, iha and hereafter. So the phala is gone, phalamashashvatam. Then the very objects of the world you are thinking that are giving you joy and sorrow and where are they really capable of giving happiness or capable of giving you sorrow? They can't enter unless you permit them. So the very senses that are outward turned and showing us, oh, this is dangerous, that is so friendly, they can't bring the real happiness. There was this Ekashloki we were discussing in the afternoon satsang, where Acharya is asked, who is Ishvara? Who is real happiness? So what is self-realization? What is real happiness? And Acharya says that how to trace your way to divinity, how to trace your way to the self, is that instead of going with that which is revealed, go for the light that which reveals. Instead of going with the sensory objects, the sensory world, go for Surya, Chandra, and the lamp that you use to see the objects of the world. They are divinity compared to these. These are matter. Those are the lights. But then Surya, Chandra, and the tube light, they are sensed by what? They are sensed by eye. So drop them and seek divinity in the eye. What is the eye? Is it perceived? Can it perceive itself? No, it is perceived by the mind. So drop all the senses as divinity, go for the mind. In the mind, all the other thoughts are perceived by whom? The Shishya says perceived by me, perceived by the eye. So drop all the other thoughts as the self, as the real happiness, as the real knowledge, and hold the eye. Therefore, you are the light of lights. You are the source of real happiness. You are the source of real knowledge. You are the source of real being. Not merely are you the source, you are verily that. Tat Tvam Asi is the Upadesha given by that Ekashloki. But then that is being indicated in the self-control, why you have to turn inward. So when you do self-inquiry, you understand why Falatyaga is required, why the truth of the happiness giving or sorrow giving nature of the object should be inquired into. That is Sama. Why is Dhamma? Why is turning inward of the senses required? Obviously, without turning the senses inward, you cannot observe the thought, isn't it? But the corollary is, as you get the subtlety of observing and letting go of thought, being an intellectual, you will understand the significance of the gross things. Dilipji used to say, when these qualifications are mentioned, I really shudder when I am going to get all these qualifications. But then as we practice Atma Vicharam, we realize they have to not normally be there. That Sama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, as mentioned in the Appalapata, should be naturally there. What is the Uparati? Uparati is the withdrawal of the mind itself from outside turning to inward turning. That is the Uparati or withdrawal that is required. Uparatiyagum உப்போடு உள்ள நல் வாசனையாம் பெருங்காயமும் சேர்ந்து அப்பளம் விட்டு பாரு. Bhagavan brings all this samadhamamagum. All this he brings in the appalapata. Sama adi, the shed sampatti, he brings in the appalapata. The third qualification in the scriptures is uparati, which is withdrawal. The fourth qualification is interesting. That is forbearance or bearing the sorrows. Now you have learned that Falatyaga is required even before Shat Sampati. In Shat Sampati, you are inquiring into the happiness giving or sorrow giving nature of the object. They are incapable. So drop them, turn the senses inward, Dhamma. Then withdrawal of the mind to turn inward, Uparati. Why this Titikshata then? By past karmas, you may still have to face some sorrows in the world. By past karmas, you might have now understood. Phala has to be given up. The objects of the world, no point. Senses, no point. Turn it inward. Mind, no point. Turn it inward. However, despite you have done all this, you might still have to face some sorrow. And that sorrow, you have to bear. You have to have the art of bearing it with patience. That is what Bhagavan would say to Kunju Swami when he is having a lot of sores in his leg, probably due to some kind of accumulation of pus, a lot of sores, and they have opened up a terrific pain. And he is mourning as he and Bhagavan are walking through the corridor in the office. He is mourning. And the Chinnaswami has brought, I think, Jackie. He has had a stomach operation in the town because a boar from the nearby jungle has gored his stomach. And they have stitched him up. He is put in the corridor. He is lying silently. And Bhagavan says to Kunjuswami, look at him. Have the titiksha that he has. The sorrows, you are a self-inquiry practitioner. But what sorrow? Yara Mane Gantu, asks one of the singers when in a song to Raghavendra Swami, I won't say that I should not get any sorrows at all, because what I have done, where it will go? It has to come to me. The computer there is too accurate for me to just like that escape from what I have done. So even though I am now turning inward, doing all these things, I should be ready to face these sorrows that can be sourced by me or not sourced by me. That I may not know the cause, but still I have to understand it is to be born, and that is titiksha. These four are the mind being prepared. Then an underlying quality called shraddha, faith. This is very important. This is what is going to turn into bhakti. They are all upadhi based. The other qualifications are upadhi based. This is something relating to the emotion, relating to who you are. If you don't have faith, then the sadhana becomes very, very hollow. The efforts become, you frequently get doubt. The intellect runs away and starts challenging you. You are sitting like this. What is it that you are doing? Whereas that faith in the Guru, that is what is increased by such satsangs. When we repeatedly have morning satsang, afternoon satsang, where the devotees account how they have been touched by Bhagavan, how they have been brought to higher states by Bhagavan. we are reading a book in the morning every day, in which accounts from various devotees are there. Today we were reading an account from N. Rajan sir, and how he beautifully combines the bhakti and jnana, and how Bhagavan took him through that, and where is the need for each devotee to share with another what Bhagavan did to him. Then our faith, our shraddha in the Guru and the teachings, it just multiplies. When we sit in satsang and listen to the narratives of those devotees, the sadhana is embellished with the shraddha, that I am on the right track, that Bhagavan is after me, that the Ishvara Shakti is behind me. All the gurus, like the great one, Shankaracharya, the Dakshinamurti Swamigal, their powers are all behind me. They are the ones after me. Otherwise, I could not have taken their teachings. I could not have inquired into their teachings. This builds the Shraddha. Shraddhavan labate jnana. Without that condensation, that love being aggregated together, the respect being aggregated together as Shraddha, the sadhana becomes very, very tollu, the hollow. And the last of the Shat Sampatis is concentration or Samadhana, which is to make every effort to fix the mind in the pure Brahman. So now that you have understood Palatyaga even before the Shat Sampati, in Shat Sampati, object dropping as Sama, the Dhamma as the turning inward of the senses and fixing them in the seat. Then you have the Uparati, which is withdrawal of the mind. Then you have Titik, that is, even though you do these three, you may still have some sorrows from the past. You should have the forbearance to experience them and finish them once and for all, finished. That's all. Nothing, no comments on that. No right or wrong about. We have to be dull for some time. We have to be in pain for some time. Just sit there, be with it. That is going to end. That is titiksha. Then you have the two key qualities, that of faith, the shraddha, and that of concentration, that of practicing the fixing of the mind in the Brahman. These are the Shat Sampati. Then the fourth quality, what are the, how the four qualities are laid out? First is the discrimination between real and non-real. Then the second is not having phala yaksha. Third is the Shat Sampati, which we have seen in detail now. The fourth is yearning for liberation. That is mumukshutva. What is yearning for liberation is beautifully defined by the Acharya here. If you can catch it, you will understand the meaning of the verse which we are going to see later, which I said was the key verse in this particular discussion. That intense yearning for liberation arises from the desire to free oneself by realizing one's true nature. So, the Acharya's teaching here and Bhagavan's teaching in Ulladinarpada are together in this. Very few of the Advaitic teachings you will find search for your own truth. Whereas here directly the Acharya is saying search for your own truth. What is your true nature? That is seeking of liberation, seeking your own true nature and knowing fully well that identifying with the body and identifying with the ego are the errors you are making. Now, this is what Swaswarupa Anusandhanam is capturing that. He is bringing us, making us ready for what is really bhakti. That the yearning for liberation is the fourth quality. First quality is discrimination between real and unreal. Second quality is not seeking results, iha or para. Third is the Shat Sampati, Samadhamma Adi. The fourth is intense yearning for liberation, mumukshutva. What is that intense yearning? Absolutely knowing that the body is the non-self, the ego is the non-self, and the ego and the body are the root of suffering. Therefore, to inquire into one's own true nature is the seeking of liberation. Seeking of liberation is not by moving from one world to another. It is seeking one's own true nature, Swaswarupa Anusandhanam. This yearning may be of different grades, the Acharya says. It may be middling. If it is middling, we may start the sadhana with a middling yearning for liberation. We may not even know what is liberation. When I came to Who Am I in 2003 end, there was no seeking of liberation. I didn't know anything about liberation and all that. I had a problem to be solved, and I knew that the problem will get dissolved only in finishing with the self-enquiry and the ending of the mind. I did not have any concept about liberation, but then naturally, whether you seek liberation or not, you are given it if you are seeking the right things with the right guru. The Guru Kripa, it brings you the right place. You understand, oh, this is what they call as liberation. This is what they call as Jivan Mukti. You naturally realize that. But here deliberately the Acharya says that you can approach the self-enquiry with the awareness that the aim of self-enquiry is to bless you with liberation. That liberation alone is the true happiness. The true Atmajnana, the true Ananda, which emanates out of the self, is possible only in self-realization and freeing oneself from the prison of the body and the mind. That is intense yearning for liberation. All this, the four qualifications of the Sishya, bring us to the Moksha Karana. The one verse which is at the heart of our exchange today, that is verse number 31. I said we are going to cover from verse number 16 to verse number 33, about 18 verses in the original. This is verse number 31, which is quoted by Bhagavan many a time. That is Moksha Karana Samagryam. Samagryam Bhaktireva Gariyasi. Bhaktir Eva Gariyasi. Swaswarupa Anusandhanam Bhaktiritya Bhidiyate. What is the meaning? All means leading to liberation. Of all means leading to liberation, bhakti or devotion is the best. That means Shraddha and Bhakti are essential. Shraddha and Bhakti in the teachings of the Guru, in the Guru, is essential. It is a Bhakti Marga. But what is the Guru's Upadesha? What is really Bhakti? Swaswarupa Anusandhanam. Bhakti Marga is the best, is the first line. That is Moksha Karana Samagriyam Bhakti Reva Griyasi. The Bhakti alone can be called to be the direct or the highest way to moksha. However, what is really Bhakti? Swaswarupa Anusandhanam Bhakti Ritya Abhidhiyate. That this Bhakti means seeking the truth of one's own self. So say the sages. What is the meaning again? Of all the means leading to liberation, Bhakti or devotion is the best. And this Bhakti means seeking the truth of one's own self. So say the sages. Moksha Karana Samagriyam Bhaktir Eva Gariyasi. Swaswarupa Anusandhanam Bhaktir Ityabhidhiyate. That is the verse which is quoted often, which is at the heart of our discussions today. All these four main qualities in the disciple, the Acharya is saying to gradually bring him to having Shraddha, having sadhana. What is the sadhana? It is of Bhakti. What is Bhakti? Swaswarupanasam. Who am I? He is at the root. The aspirant who possesses the necessary four qualifications and wishes to undertake self-enquiry must seek a Sadguru and bow down to him with humility and awe and reverence and serve him in various ways. This is the instruction after the four qualities are described in detail, that the Sishya who is aware of this should now seek a Guru. Bhagavan is always the Guru for us. He is one who is going to be ever there. So Ramana, seek that Guru, seek his support. Bhagavan says, even after the body is dropped, I am available. Mental contact with the Guru is the best, he says. So when you are reading into the truth of Ulladinarpadu, when you are meditating on the words contained in Ulladinarpadu, you are in contact with the Sukshma Sharira of Bhagavan. Because from where they have come from the very purity that Bhagavan is. Those are pathways that are going to be there in the subconscious to take one to Mukti. Those are the Guru Swarupas that are going to be there in the subconscious, the so-called subconscious, which doesn't really exist, are all pathways where the Sishyas will be, the disciples will be taken to Mukti. Just holding the Ulladinarpadu verses, he is holding on to Bhagavan's form. He is having Shraddha in Bhagavan's teachings. You keep meditating on Ulladinarpadu. Somebody was asking me, can you conduct guided meditation in self-enquiry? I said, how can someone other than you give you guided meditation in self-inquiry. You have to see your thoughts and let them go and hold the eye. But you can have guided meditation from Bhagavan himself. If you meditate on the verses of Ulladu Narpadu, they will repeatedly put you back on track to self-inquiry. Any of the verses you hold, that will put you back on. So meditating strongly on Ulladu Narpadu is having guided meditation in self-inquiry. I suggested to him. So he has to seek the sadhaka who is eminently qualified in all these four. Discrimination between real and unreal, the phala apeksha being completely dropped, samadhama, uparati, titiksha, then you have the two, the shraddha and the samadhana as the shad sampatti. Those qualifications should be there. Then sincere yearning for mumukshutva. And it is strangely defined as not escaping into somewhere or running away into something. It is not merely, it is the search for the truth of oneself. Swaswarupa Anusandhanam, that I am not the body, that I am not the mind, and seeing the deficiencies of this anatma, the identification with this anatma. Any anatma, can it have happiness? What is the nature of happiness in question number 24? Bhagavan says, happiness is the nature of the self. Is the body the self? Is the mind the self? Both are non-self. Your very identity with that is misery. You are already miserable by saying, I am the body, I am the mental head. Already miserable. Then with that misery, how are you going to solve the problem of misery? Because don't start being miserable. Don't start identifying with poverty and seeking richness outside of you. Whenever you are seeking richness outside of wealth outside of you, you should understand you have already identified yourself as poor. Therefore, this is the teaching is so sensitive that it puts us on the right track. That Bhagavan says that in the beginning itself, see that the body and the mind are anatma, they cannot give happiness. So detach yourself from these upadhis through inquiries, Bhagavan's teachings. We have already approached Bhagavan. We have the respect and reverence for him by repeated satsangas. So we have board, and what is the service to Bhagavan? Whatever each one of us may have as feeling of service, Bhagavan says, abiding in the self is the service. So whatever you may think of as service, you serve him. That is the quality required in the 10th point. In the last point we are discussing today is what is the nature of the Guru. A quick run through, we have to have just Bhagavan in mind to know the two verses, 32 and 33. The Sadguru is one capable of destroying bondage of those who adhere to him, number one. Number two, he is an ocean of immutable wisdom. His knowledge is all comprehensive. He is pure as crystal. He has attained victory over desires. He is supreme among the knowers of Brahman. He rests calmly in Brahman like a fire that has consumed its fuel. Fuel was given, fire was lit, the fire has consumed all its fuel. So where is that? That is in the absolute calmness. That is how the jnani will be abiding in the self. There are no vasanas to burn. So the jnani identifies with the Brahman. He is an endless reservoir of mercy. There is no explanation as to why he is why he is merciful. It is his nature. As Ganapati Muni tells of Bhagavan, that it is not a guna. It is his very nature. Sahajamaivate. Nakaruna guna. It is not Bhagavan's guna, but karuna is the very nature of the jnani. There is no explanation why he is merciful. It is his very nature. He befriends all the sadhus who adhere to him. This is the nature of the Guru. And we don't need to go into it much because we have that Guru right in front of us as Bhagavan's life. And we understand that his living presence is the Guru Swarupa for us. And from here on, the Acharya is going to take us into the details of the relationship and the prayers to the Guru and further into the work. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. Let us sit in Atmavacharam till 8 o'clock when we can listen to Akka. Now, Ujjalji, you can set the time for us. Thanks. Namo Ramana. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana, sir. Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the self in all beings. By the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we have been meditating on the Vivekachoodamani, the crest jewel of Viveka, which is a composition, a gracious composition, as brought out to us by Nandakumarji, by Adishankara Bhagavad-pada, and which Bhagavan, in his infinite and natural compassion, which was described again today, has translated into Tamil, highlighting the essence of it for us. And today, Nandakumarji has taken us through the qualities of a disciple and briefly the qualities of the Guru. The qualities of the disciple and which begins with the discrimination between the real and the unreal. The Satya Viveka. In Ramana Gita, the very almost the first question is about Satya Viveka and whether it can liberate one. And Bhagavan says it is good, but only Atmanubhava can liberate. Other than Atmanubhava, nothing can give us liberation. But Satya Viveka is good. It's a good practice. In self-enquiry, all these qualities are automatically there. That is what Nandakumarji highlighted for us. How does Satya Viveka manifest in self-enquiry? If we look at the process, even the traditional process of self-enquiry, you will see that body is not the Satya when compared to the mind. Because in the dream, there is no body at all. There is another dream body. We can see that the body is relative when compared to the mind. Body is contained in the mind. The mind is the truth. If you take the relative factors of body and mind, we can say mind is the Satya and body is Asatya. And Bhagavan says, if you look at the mind itself, what will you find? You will find that it's a stream of thoughts. And in those thoughts, the varied thoughts, the multiple thoughts, they are all asatya. And relatively speaking, the I thought or the aham vritti is the satya. So he says, hold on to the I thought. How to hold on to the I thought? By questioning its reality. Otherwise, what will it do? It will again move back into the realm of asatya. It will start holding on to objects. Actually, by definition, the Satya and the Asatya is that which is transient, and the Satya is that which ever is. So, if we see that the mind is there both in the dream and the waking state, whereas the body, the physical body is there only in the waking state, it is easily discarded as a Satya. And the mind, the various thoughts in the mind are all coming and going. They are absolutely transient. Whereas the I thought is continuous. As Bhagavan says, then Bhagavan goes on to say that if we inquire as to who this I is, or if we inquire as to what is the source of this I, because the I also disappears in deep sleep, so it cannot be the ultimate Satya. So this Satya Viveka in self-enquiry takes us right back to the source. And what about not having phala apeksha, not having desire for fruits? What is the fruit? The fruit is the thought in the mind. The fruit is the thought arises because of phala apeksha. If there is no phala apeksha, there is the room for thought. What is a thought? Thought is a movement towards an object. The very movement towards an object is a phala apeksha. The very need for a thought is a phala apeksha. It need not be a fruit which is desired after a particular action. The very action itself, the very mental action of thought is phala apeksha. This Bhagavan makes us recognize in self-enquiry. He makes us recognize that the rise of thought is itself only in order to experience happiness. That is phala apeksha. So even the presence of the subtlest of thoughts, which Nandakumar explains to us, even the aham spurana, the purest and subtlest of thoughts, has a very subtle element of phala apeksha in it, the phala apeksha of enjoying itself. So before that, if you see, there are different stages of phala apeksha. There is the gross fruits that we get. Then there are the mental satisfactions that we get in thought. Then there is that if we do not worry about any thought at all, good, bad, indifferent, and just start that also. Nandakumar said, talked about that practice also. Just look at all thoughts as equal. They're all only thoughts, says Bhagavan. So if we look at all thoughts as equal and we watch them, then there is a great detachment from the thought. There is no thought of, there's no phala apeksha of wanting some thought or rejecting thought. Wanting and rejecting are both phala apeksha. That phala apeksha may not be there, but still the subtle phala apeksha of needing to watch the thought, of being the watcher, of needing to be an entity, that itself is a phala apeksha. In self-enquiry, that is also questioned until it goes to the aham spurana, and finally it leads to total absence of phala apeksha. In self-enquiry, one becomes aware of this. So the dropping of phala apeksha happens when thought is dropped, when the I thought is questioned, and finally when the aham spurana, by the grace of Bhagavan, whenever the aham spurana happens, not asking for anything. Repeatedly, Nandakumar tells us, don't ask for anything of the aham spurana. So not asking for anything, that phala apeksha. Then we have all the shamadamadigal, or the shama, dama, uparati, titiksha. Of all these, titiksha is a very beautiful, of course, control. Control is there, but titiksha is patience. Titiksha is waiting. Titiksha, we see very beautifully in the life of Shabari, who waits for Rama to come. Every day, it is not, titiksha is patience. It's not only patience in the phase of difficulty, but it's patience with one's own sadhana. The capacity to hold on continuously, because phala apeksha is not there. That is why Bhagavan says, santatam salipara. That salipara is the titiksha over there. No sense of tiredness, no sense of feeling, oh, when will this happen? So that titiksha, the Shabari, how she waits for Rama, with the total capacity, not thinking at all, will he come today? Why has he not come? So many years. No such thought. That titiksha we have to do, Bhagavan says, by facing every thought, not worrying, oh, I have already questioned 20 thoughts, still more thoughts are arising. I have questioned million thoughts, still more thoughts are arising. When will I get the answer? No such anxiety is there in self-enquiry, because the question is predominant. So that the titiksha is built into it. And we have of course, the 6 qualities over there. And after that, we have in the 6 qualities, we have the Shraddha. We have the Shraddha, the faith. And that is what Nandakumarji asked me to recount last time, the gracious Upadesha of Muruganar Swami, who told me, keep on doing it. And Vishwanatha Swami also said, 24/7, you keep doing it. Keep full faith in Bhagavan and keep on doing it. That's Shraddha. That is, in Appalam song, Santosha Magave. The Shraddha, Santosha Magave. And then the Samadhana is there. Samadhana is, Bhagavan says, it is like the the rolling stone, Shantamam Kuraviyal Samamana Palagayil, he says in the Appalam song. And Bhagavan has said, Appalam song, you can write a commentary from the perspective of any of the scriptures. So the Samadhana is there. And of course, the faith in the Sadguru, and the last quality being that we have to have eagerness to attain self-knowledge. The faith, of course, a favorite story of my mother's is also there, of faith and joy, of Samadhana, of how a devotee is told that he will have birds as many as the leaves on the tree, and he starts jumping in joy. Oh, it means that I will have self-knowledge at the end of all those birds. That is what the Supreme has declared. And eagerness to attain the self, that is Atmarati, love for the self, rather than love for thoughts, and love and faith. See, that eagerness also comes from the faith, the Shraddha and this eagerness. They are all actually, each of these qualities are intermingled or all in one in all. If we have one of these qualities also and hold on to the self-enquiry, which is a embodiment of all these, or any path is included in self-enquiry, and so it is great bhakti. Swaswarupa Anusandhanam is that bhakti which happens through Atma Vichara. Through Atma Vichara only Swaswarupa Anusandhanam happens. And one who does Swaswarupa Anusandhanam alone knows the true meaning of bhakti. That is why Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada has given that statement over here in Vivekachoodamani. And I might have shared with all of you earlier, but again my mind, whenever this verse is quoted, goes back to the scene of Abhinava Vidyatirtha Mahaswami. He was doing the Chandramaulishwara Puja, and he sang. My mother had set to music some verses from Vivekachoodamani, of which Swaswarupa Anusandhanam Bhaktiritya Vidiyate is the core of that selection. And he was literally ecstatic while listening to those verses, and especially blessed my mother after that and told her how wonderful was the rendering, and that was itself wonderful. I can see how ecstatic he was. So it is that bhakti is known only to one who is abiding in the self. That's why Bhagavad Pada says, Swaswarupa Anusandhanam Bhakti Vidiyate. And such a one who is the greatest bhakta and the greatest jnani, the Jivan Mukta, is our Guru. We are blessed with Bhagavan Ramana as the ever-present Atma Swarupa. And we are also blessed with his Shakti, as Sadhuam Swami calls it, the veil, Atma Vichara veil, he calls it, that Shakti veil. So we are blessed with that veil of Bhagavan, whose Karuna, as Muni says, is na Karuna Guna, and which Muruganar Swami also says, it is like a tree which gives shade to every comer by nature, not by choice. And by that grace alone have we stumbled to his feet, says Manika Vachakar, Avanarulale Avantal Vanangi. That grace it is which has drawn us to itself, and it is doing its work. It will complete its work, says Satyamangalam Venkatramayar. It will take us across this ocean of apparently endless thoughts, apparently endless identifications. It will take us across. And the beauty, as Nandakumar says, even if we question one thought, we understand that we can be free from the thought, from the entirety of the mind, and get back to our true nature. This is the abundant, without any frontier, says Bhagavan. The grace of the Sadguru has no frontiers. Somebody asked him, is it like the ocean? Bhagavan said, no, ocean has its boundaries, not so the grace of the Sadguru. Om Namo Bhagavate.
Namo Ramana. It was
Namo.
wonderful. Namo Ramana to all.